Welcome to Healthcare as It Should Be, presented by Tampa Family Health Centers, TFHC. I'm your host, Sherry Hoback, proud president, nurse, and CEO of TFHC. This podcast is all about real talk in healthcare, the challenges we're facing, the innovations making a difference, and how we're pushing for care that's accessible, high quality, and truly centered around the people we serve. Whether you're in healthcare, curious about how it works, or just want to be a part of the conversation, you're in the right place. This is Healthcare as It Should Be from TFHC. Welcome to Healthcare as It Should Be, presented by Tampa Family Health Centers. I'm Sherry Hoback, president and CEO and nurse of Tampa Family. Today, it is my honor to have Ms. Ashaki Williams here today. It was hard to get you here, but we got you here. I'm so excited. Now, I'm going to run through her roles here at Tampa Family because that's really what we're going to talk about. So it is an honor to have her as our Chief Human Resources Officer.
Yes.
She is also our Chief Operations Officer.
Yes.
And like I say, my favorite, personally, is she's my Chief of Staff. Ashaki, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, finally.
Yeah.
Sherry, this is different. Usually we do our conversations on the floor, so hopefully we'll be able to get this one back through before.
Or we'll be on the floor.
Yeah.
Here soon. Okay, so I wanted to bring you on today to talk about so many different things. You know, you bring an energy and a philosophy to leadership that I haven't seen in the over 2 decades that I've been doing this. And I know for you, it's just who you are, but I really want to kind of tease back how you got there and really explain to the audience what your philosophy is and how you approach leadership, especially when we're looking from the human resources perspective. Do you mind if we start there?
Yeah, that's a lot. But
I know.
Let's see. Let's see if we can take this one bite at a time, right?
All right.
So yes, I think first and foremost, when it comes to leadership, that it's important for us to remind ourselves or be reminded that leadership is who we are, right? It's not what we do. It's who we are at our essence. So I think that when I think of myself as a leader, I just think of myself as Ashaki, and this is who I was raised to be. Had an awesome, I think, support system. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather was an entrepreneur. He was a plumber, like Lakeland, Florida. Yay, Lakeland. Florida's premier plumber, ran his own business, as well as my grandmother, who, while she didn't work outside of the home, she served a lot in church. But the basis of everything was that we are meant to lead in everything that we do. And so that starts by you being true to who you are. All you have is your name, right? And when you present yourself to everyone, you present them with your name, and they should have a good feeling behind that, because when they say Ashaki, they should know that Ashaki, as the Chief Human Resource Officer, loves them, right? Respects them, and that she is a leader. She's going to make things happen for them, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, it's that part, right? And I think that most importantly for me, like when it comes to being Chief Human Resource Officer and leadership, it is about making certain that we respect the sanctity of the HR office, right?
Right.
'Cause a lot happens in HR, right?
Yeah.
And it's about making certain that people know when they come to HR that they're coming somewhere confidentially, right? And so that what's said in HR stays in HR, right? They're also coming to the place that is truly the heart of the organization. So we are that organ that is pushing the blood through this organization by making certain that we are following policies, procedures, and that, you know, that they can trust us. They can trust us to make certain that we're following policy, and that allows us to treat everybody fairly, right? But also trust that we have their best interest at heart. So.
Okay, I didn't think we were going to go here this fast, but we're going to do it. You said you used the analogy of the heart pumping. So we got to tell everybody, you didn't start in healthcare. This has been a journey for you.
It has been an amazing
I'm so proud
journey,
that you just used that analogy.
Yeah, right. So like, it's so oftentimes, people, I walked in seriously, when I started almost 5 years ago, and I walked in and HR was about the heart of the organization, right? However, spending my time with some amazing nurse leaders and physician leaders, I have learned a great deal more about health care and health, my own, in fact, that than I ever thought I would know, but I'm so grateful for. And so, it's in that learning that I was able to say, you know what, and really in conversation with you to say, HR, we are the heart of the organization, but we're the organ that pumps the blood through the body, right? That's us, right? And so it's just been great that while I always knew what a heart was, I don't think I knew it so intricately until I came here, and I get to sit around and listen and be involved in the conversations that are happening about the health care of our organization, the health of our community, and it was really easy to make the connection that it all goes together.
That's amazing. So when we think about transferable skills, right, you joined this organization with zero healthcare experience, but you have such depth in the operations, the human resources, the executive space, right? So you're really bringing forward this amazing playbook of skills that you've had in your lifetime of your career. And you were brave enough to join a healthcare unit. And I remember the first days, right? You were like, wait, stop. What is an EKG? What is BP? What does HTN mean? And I've watched you, and I think we joke, right? We say, wow, you are like de facto an honorary nurse, provider, doctor here because you have learned the lingo and the essence of it. Can you talk about the leap that you took to join Tampa Family and coming out of what one would consider a comfort zone of professionalism?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's important to say that I came to Tampa Family because of you. And so I never knew what an FQHC was, so I had no idea about federally qualified health centers, had no idea about community health. What I did know was HR, and I did know operations, even though I didn't know I was going to use operations when I got to Tampa Family. But I did know that I knew process, I knew procedure, I knew policy, and I love people, and I believe in the development of people, and that works extremely well for me when it comes to being the lead of the HR department, right? So I came over and I said, okay, yes, I'll do that. But you are so right. It's funny, I joke because someone just asked me about it. I have an entire notebook of acronyms and abbreviations that I oftentimes will share because I knew nothing. And one of my favorite stories I like to tell is being in a meeting with you and Dr. McPhee, our CMIO, and Lisa McLeod, who is also a BSN RN, right? And you all were talking, and I felt like I was following along, right? Because as you all have always made me feel so comfortable with since the day one, I've always been able to ask a question. I've always been able to ask for the education. So I was feeling myself just a little bit on this day, like, okay, I can be in this conversation. And then the nurses took charge of the board and started talking to the doctor with the CHRO in the room, and they started using symbols and
you know what you're talking about, yeah.
We
start talking a different language.
and speaking of saying things that I had no idea. And it was like, hey, hold up, file on the play. File on the play. what is that? Like, what's the triangle? What's the, oh, okay. And then I got a whole lesson, and you all even took me back into, and I think that's what I appreciate the most is you took me back into your words of, oh, when we were in nursing school, it was this. And then to hear the doctor say, oh, yeah, and similar to them, we can do this because when we are charting, this is our language to be able to communicate with each other efficiently but quickly so that we can keep it moving for the
Right.
patients. So I think I say all of that to say it was a leap. I felt confident in my skills and my abilities as a human resource person, but you have just always been so welcoming as a leader for questions and educating. And I think that's what it's about. When you feel you have a safe space to learn and develop, then it makes it that much easier for you to give your all and move to the next level.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't fishing for a compliment, but I always
It's
take
okay.
one. I appreciate that. I remember the interview, right? And I think that one of the things that we would share with the audience is because a lot of today is really talking about, leadership and how to present and how to work in an environment that you feel valued, you feel whole. And I think it really goes back to the interview. I don't really remember any of the words we said. I do remember us connecting energy, and we connected on values and the mission of the organization. I wanted to chat a little bit about how can you share with the audience what it was like when, you're here, you're learning healthcare, and finding your voice in the boardroom in a way that you were seeing things differently, right? Like, I valued having you there so much because you were seeing and asking questions that people haven't asked in so long. Because sometimes when you do it for so long, healthcare, you just take for granted certain things. But I'm not going to say brave, because you're a very brave woman. So I don't think you needed to find bravery, but where did you find the gumption, right? To really say, I want to insert my comments here because I think it's important to see from a different perspective.
Yeah, so being honest, I think that it's who I am at my core because of how I was raised, right? I tell people often because they often say to me, oh, they laugh at me and they say, Ashaki, you just say anything or you're always asking questions. And yes, I am. But my grandfather always told me if I don't know, I won't know if I don't ask the question. And so that's always
Yeah.
what I have led with. And so when I want to make certain, which is every day, that I'm giving my best, if I'm sitting in a boardroom and we're having a discussion and I'm looking at what's presented and I have questions because either something just doesn't make sense or I feel that we can achieve a better result, be more efficient if we do things differently. But I first need to make certain that I have the full understanding or the correct understanding because, again, I'm not from healthcare. So I know that I have to ask those questions because in order for me to give you what you brought me in to give, I have to ask the questions and I
Yeah.
have to be okay with it. So I think it's just about who I am at my core. I will ask the questions. I do not mind being the person in the class that everybody is rolling their eyes at or sighing because she has another question. Yes, she does, because me understanding it is what will allow me to make certain that we are making the best decisions for our team, for the organization to move forward per the strategy and plan you put in place.
Right. And so, mission-driven organization. Every decision we make here is really based off of our community and our patient needs. And you so quickly just became a part of that. There was one particular time that I remember, it was in a board meeting, and you were stopping at a restaurant in the morning to pick up some breakfast, whatever. And you had an encounter and with a patient that I'd like to, well, I don't know if it was a patient, but I would say what we thought could be a patient, right? And you were so emotionally charged and passionate when you came to talk to everybody. And it was really that, right? It was really being able to come into a room and basically shake us all up and say, no, listen, this is what matters. Can you talk? Do you remember that?
I remember that. It was do not tell Dr. Frey. It was Burger King. Um, it was an egg and cheese croissant, and it was a sweet tea, which I've done so good at breaking that habit
You
of
have,
sweet tea.
yeah.
To move it from every day to every now and then. So I think I deserve a brownie point, but I do. And it was an encounter with an unhoused individual.
Okay.
The meeting we were having, we were speaking of our homeless population, and an encounter that we had at one of our locations with our unhoused population. And I think it was just making certain, because I do feel like I think you said it best, that oftentimes we get so busy with the business of doing business, and looking at the results, that sometimes we don't take a step back to look at it and to say, hey, this person matters. This is in real life an example of who Tampa family is and what we do in this community. And so it was just making certain that we remind ourselves and that we be reminded, regardless of if we are in a chief spot or whether we are at the front desk. It is just being reminded of who we are at our essence to this community, and what it is we do, and how that should always drive our decision, because ultimately it'll get us to the profitability that we need to continue to invest into this community.
Okay. All right. So one thing I want to talk about when we talk about leadership and management, there is a plan you brought to Tampa Family with our book club. And although not a novel idea, and I'm sure others have done it, but what you did with the book club and how you produced a formula that only wasn't just at the executive levels, you had it kind of enveloped into all levels of leadership. At a really high level, I guess, can you talk to us about the value of the books and the why? And I mean, you were so diligent in making sure that the books were the right size, the right amount of chapters. You knew us so well. You knew that you weren't going to be able to get us to read, a novel. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so listen, I think that it would be great, right, if we could afford to bring a motivational speaker in, a guest that has done great things and speak to all of us on a regular. That's pricey, right?
Right.
But there's some great books, right, that are written by some great people that can. And so we want to make certain that we can incorporate always developmental times for even as chiefs, we continue to grow and evolve, right? And so at all levels of the organization, so we can get some really great books and read them and then discuss them. And I just really feel like, first and foremost, I'm not trying to, I definitely don't want to be a program commercial for it, but in case they want to give me a kickback, we'll take it. But I feel like every organization in the world should read Chop Wood,
Carry Water. Yes, ma'am.
Do.
That is a fantastic book.
It is such a great read.
Yeah.
It's just the right length, right? Small, but the message in it to tell you that it really is about continuing in the process with consistency, right? Continue to chop the wood and carry the water, because you will see the results. And oftentimes we get so frustrated that we focus so much on the results, right? And then there are the needs to be reminded of just who we are and how we can move through. So then we move to saying, hey, are you going to be an egg, right? Or are you going to be a carrot? Or are you going to be a coffee bean, right?
Yep.
And so that book was instrumental, because we need to remind people and even remind ourselves, right? And not have to take a whole lot of time, great read, but to remind ourselves that we actually do hold the decision in us to make great change and to have great effect on people if we just so decide, right? And so that book was so impactful at that time, right? And so it's just about when you have a message, I think that you can feel with something that's going on, let's connect us all together, not just by work, but let's read the same words, because that also helps us to have better conversation, right? And it's not just about the book club conversations, but we've all just at times referenced or gone back to, how many times do we reference Good to Great? We,
Yes.
which was your
Fantastic book.
selection, but great book, but it oftentimes comes up in the conversation. So the thing is if we're all reading the same book, one, then although there may still be some different interpretations, for the most part, we're going to be on the same track, on the same bus, because we're reading the same book. But it gives us some likeness to have conversations and to reference, that just makes the conversations, especially those difficult conversations, a little bit easier to have, because you can pull a reference point and know that a person is understanding you because, we read this book together.
Yep.
Right?
Yes. And I think also too, perspective, right? So I go back to the time where we read The Soup.
Yes.
Right? And we were all in the boardroom, and you had assigned chapters to everyone. And so we all had assigned chapters that we had to discuss and talk about. And it was through those conversations that it really allowed us to get other people's perspectives. And sometimes you're reading the same letters and words off of a paper, but you're not interpreting the foundational theory of what's being said differently. And sometimes no answer is wrong. It's just the sum of all. Yes. Right? And I think that's kind of also what it told us too, is that, when you look to do this, it's really being able to do so many things for an executive team. I think one, it humbles everybody, because you have to go back to chop wood, carry water, no matter who you are, right? I think two, it really allows the leadership teams to come together and normalize the humanity of what we do. We spend a lot of time together.
We do.
We spend a lot of time together. And it's really nice to have time to get to know individuals by getting to know them without their knowing you're getting to know them,
yes.
Right? I mean, it's very natural. And then I think third, it's really, like you said, being able to not just say, okay, we did a book club, we did the analysis. We really weave it into everything that we do in the fabric. I love when I come into your office and I see a stack of books on your desk. I know a team's about ready to get schooled on doing the book club, and that has had such value here at Tampa Family. And I just really encourage it for leadership. I think it's really good, to read. But what you did was so different. You brought it back to the basic building block. And that, I really think, was the game changer. And really saying, okay, Good to Great is a wonderful book to read for leadership, but it's at a different level, right? But what you did with the books you brought, it was just so mindful, and it was so inspiring, and you could feel people getting re-inspired and re-energized to do the work they do. So thank you for that. I really appreciated that, and I really look forward to our next one.
Yes, I'm reading several books now. So
yeah,
it's that thing, right? I've already set the precedent. The books have been the right size, the right at the time, and so. Yeah. I got a high bar set, so I'm reading a couple now to see what we're going to introduce next, but I'm excited.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and talk about, I want to chat in this space a little bit about what we see as management, leadership, how to bridge the gap. Is there a gap? Is it who you just are? Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy?
Yeah, so... Again, I think that leadership is what you do. Management is the job you're doing, right?
Okay.
And so, and I think it's about, because the truth of the matter is I can have the title of front desk coordinator or scheduling coordinator and still very much be a leader based off of how I present myself, how I do my job, what I give to my my immediate community, right, of my coworkers and my peers, how I assist and help my patients when they come in or call in. So I just need people to understand it's not so much a title of supervisor or manager or even chief. And I tell people all the time, while I am grateful for my title, when I walk in each day, my titles, when I walk in each day, I'm simply Ashaki who understands that she has been bestowed the gifts to be a leader. It's who I am at my essence. And so what can I do today to help you be your best self, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is about. And we have to have that at all levels and in all positions of the job in order for us to do well what we do. And but we need people to understand that. And I think when it comes to being a leader, it's more about being able to accept the responsibility and know that it's heavy and lonely at times, but it's necessary, because being a leader is what makes you understand that it's necessary for you to say good morning and greet your staff, right? Or you to greet the employees where they are. It's what makes you driven to understand what really is it that we're doing here. Oh, I have this problem. Okay, I need to report this, but I need to look into the details to make certain that I am. And so I just think it's important, because I think oftentimes people think leader is a destination to get
Mm-hmm.
to,
Yes.
when in actuality it's the journey of life that we go through. And being able to understand that if you're a leader, you're always a leader. You don't just come to work and decide to be a leader. You're actually a leader. You should be a leader in every area of your life, right? Because they
Yeah.
all intertwine. And so, yeah, I think that there is greater work to do. I think the more we get people to understand that you may have aspirations to move up into other positions, and so you should develop and learn a skill set and progress there. But to be a leader, you actually start leading where you're at, right? And that's
Mhm.
that's how we notice, right? The people who
Right.
you promote up into succession are the people that you notice they are leaders, because they take lead, they take charge, they present themselves, they are team players that care enough to look into the details of the situation, make certain that it's reported up, and not just dump it elsewhere, but make certain that there's a resolution. And oh, by the way, let me share this with you all, because as a leader, it's not just about me being great, it's about all of us being great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that.
Yeah. I love that last part. It's about all of us being great. I think that the true vision of any organization is if you walk in and you really can't tell who the leader is, because everyone is leading with that mission driven mindset. And then also too, stay steadfast at the job for which you do, strive for excellence at the position that you have, and you will be noticed. But it's those folks that have that natural leadership in them that see the bigger picture. They see the patient or the mom of three on the other side that needs help and brings that forward for us. I love that.
Yes. I think people understand too is that I think the biggest thing is people to understand that as a leader, what you do well each day, I think, which is the most important, is you're able to step outside of yourself, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
about you, it's about others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because it's about the others and you being able to help them, being able for them to develop. So to your point, um me sitting at the front desk checking someone in, and noticing that the patient in front of me, has three kids and all of them are very sick, and me taking the time to make certain that I talk to the nurse in the back,
Back,
and
yeah.
to let them know, hey, we have these three sick kids out front, right? In essence, I'm leading and I'm stepping outside of myself, for not just doing the per norm of my job of getting this person checked in so that they can go to the back, but leading because I'm caring for, because I know as a mom with three sick babes, it took a lot
Right.
for you to get here today.
It did.
So let
It
me
did.
make
Yeah.
certain that I can help by making certain that I alert in the back that this is the situation, so that they can move to help this person or help this patient more, right? And it's the same thing, in the admin office, right? As far as, seeing that your peer has mounds of of mail on their desk to go to, and coming out of your office and saying, hey, can I help you with that? That you're not so busy on going on your path to get just your task completed, but that you understand it's an effort of me stepping outside of myself so that we all can be great. Because see, if maybe you can help with that mail, you can make certain it gets taken and put to the right places, and an issue that could possibly be an issue later can be resolved and addressed now so that it doesn't become one. And so that person is freed up to do more, and so are you, right? And so just being able to step outside of yourself and understand as a leader, it's really not about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the collective good of
Right.
great of everybody, the
Right.
organization, right? All of
Right.
us being great.
Listen, I would say that if I didn't know you, I would bet you have been in the community health movement your entire life.
Yeah, no.
Right,
Right?
right. So
Again,
tell me, like, I got to know. I mean, 5 years in the movement feels like a lifetime. You speak it like you've been in the movement for a lifetime. And when we talk about the movement, we talk about the community healthcare movement, making sure that everyone understands that there's a place to receive healthcare and that we are awesome and all the things that we do, all the services we offer. But tell me how it was for you to be able to really give this persona, like, you're all in, like, every day. Can you tell us about that?
yeah, Sherry, I think it goes back to you and Tampa family being honest. Because the truth of the matter is, I tell people often when asked is that I think that there is no greater joy for me than to be able to come to work each day and contribute in an organization where exactly who we say we are at our essence is who we are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what you're seeing more so than me living the community health movement. It really is the Tampa Family One Team movement. See, in order for me to be able to take care of Sherry, our CEO, Dr. McPhee, our CMIO, Lisa McLeod, our CRO, Ben Glisson, our CFO, and our many other employees, I have to know what's important to you. I have to know everything about this organization, who we are, what we stand for.
Yeah.
And so I think it is in that and being engaged in the one team, it all matters, right? And so it matters to me. And so therefore now I can easily say what community health is. And I can say too, looking back, that while I did not know the FQHCs existed, that I can see the so much importance of community health centers to this nation, especially not just in Tampa and Hillsborough County, but to this nation. And it's important, right? And so while I haven't lived it, I am living it, and I think it's so important for me to be able to articulate it out to everyone that I meet, so that everyone knows, because I just take it that everybody is like me. And if I don't make them aware, they won't be aware. And there is such a great need for community health, for what we do, for the patients that we
Yeah.
serve, and everybody needs to know about it.
Numbers are large too,
Yes.
right? What are we? Almost 1.8 million in the state of Florida,
Florida.
serve
Mhm.
are seen at FQHCs,
Yes.
federally qualified healthcare centers, and nearly 8 million, I
Yes.
believe, nationwide.
Nationwide.
Yeah, like, that's an amazing impact. We are the largest. Sounds like we're the largest primary care.
Sounds like.
Sounds like
Yep.
we are the largest in the state of Florida.
Yes.
Congratulations. That
Yes.
is through no easy feat whatsoever. Before we leave this space, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about, you said something in the last response that really struck home to me. There's always been this philosophy out there. You leave home at the door, right? But what I heard you say was something a little different, right? You've got to meet people where they're at, and you've got to understand the energy and what they're facing sometimes to be able to help them optimize and be present and be where I know that's how I lead, right? If we have energy that's off in the boardroom and we're having in a meeting, sometimes we just gotta reshuffle the agenda, right? I don't think a lot of organizations focus on that.
Right.
I think a lot of organizations don't really talk much about energy. I think we're really brave here talking
Yes.
about energy, but let's go for it, right?
Okay.
Can you talk to me a little bit about why that is so important and how that's been a game changer in this organization as you see it?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we ask somebody to come to work and be different than who they really are. And again, right, things that I've learned since I've come to Tampa Family. You oftentimes, when spoken to or have the ability to speak, you talk about the social determinants of health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't ask a patient to partner with us and to go and walk each night to help to
Right.
manage their blood pressure if they don't have street lights or sidewalks where they live, right?
Correct.
And so therefore you're asking something of them that they're unable to do. Not that they don't want to do it,
Right.
just that they can't, right? Well, it's the same thing. And so how can I expect that I have employees who are are caregivers for elderly, chronically ill parents, or single mothers that are going through a hard time? How do I ask somebody to come to work and do a job, knowing that their lights are off, and me expect them not to be able to? There is a difference in asking somebody to be professional and asking someone to come and be someone that they're not. We are who we are. What happens at home does affect us. And so we have to make certain that we focus on energy, and that we give our employees a healthy environment where it is okay for them to be themselves,
Mm-hmm.
just to make certain that they follow the rules and that they follow the process and procedures in doing the job, right? I
Yeah.
don't need you to be, because actually you're not going to give me your best self if you're trying to be somebody that you're not. And there's no way you're going to come in and give me your best work, whether it be from in operations facilities or marketing, if you're dealing with a hard time yourself. And I always tell people, I don't need to know all your business. I'm
Right.
definitely
Of
not
course.
an LCSW. So I'm not a counselor or therapist, but I do care. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay for you to tell me that, hey, I'm dealing with some things, because then at least I know, so that if you're moving a little slow, or if I see you with the sad look on your face, or you're not responding as you know, then I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know, then there's question marks. But my person will only feel comfortable if I give them the space to be exactly who they are themselves when they come through
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for me because you allow me to do that every
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
You allow that to everyone, I feel, on your team. You actually are connected to us. And if any of us walk in, and we
This
are
is
off, you automatically sense it and feel it. It's okay, what's going on, right?
right.
What do we need to do different today,
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that has to be the same at every level of the organization, in order for people to feel connected and to feel engaged and a part of a team, because you
Mm-hmm.
allow them to come to work and be themselves, be
Yeah.
exactly who they are, and that we care enough. So look, I am definitely not able to give you the money to pay your light bill, but hey, we have financial counselors for the community. So why couldn't I use that same financial counselor to help our employees as well? So, hey, why don't you go see a financial counselor if you're having an issue right now? Because there are probably some resources that can help you. And oftentimes I think we separate, oh, this is for the patient, this is for the employees. And no, the thing that I've learned from you, that is one of the things that I admire the most about you, is that any decision that's made, you're looking equally to
Mm-hmm.
make certain that it is just as great, that it works as well for our patients and our employees alike, because both matter
Yes,
at the
they
top of the
do.
ladder. They
Yeah.
both matter.
Yeah. All right. You're dropping a lot of knowledge on us today. And I know that we're going to have to wrap up soon. So we're going to have some fun between now and the end of the podcast. Are
Okay.
you ready?
Already.
Okay. So let's talk about some of your favorite things.
Okay.
Okay. What is your favorite part of being COO?
Oh, my favorite part of being COO is probably my director of operations who laughs at me every day. But that there is not an assignment that I ever give him that he shies away from.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And I'm going to answer this one for you. I think the most shocking part about COO was the just the amount of contracts you inherit.
Oh, yes.
Dealing with
Yes,
those.
yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of business there, right?
There is a lot of business, and um yeah, I would say as COO, lots of contracts, and just lots of questions. So, I spend a lot of time asking, I wonder why,
Yeah.
and I feel that I have become a great historian of
Yeah.
going and researching and trying to put myself in other people's mindsets during that time to figure out why we might have entered into this contract. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you got a mug. I got you a mug that said,
Oh, I survived Hurricane Helene. OMG. Yes.
yes. And then
Yes.
then right after that was another one. And
Yes.
so you did fantastic stepping into that role. So if we go to CHRO, Chief of Human Resources, where's your biggest sense of gratitude, accomplishment in that role that you have here?
Listen, I think that my biggest sense of accomplishment here is being able to come in and restore the sanctity of the HR office, in that I mean, no disrespect to previous people, but it was one of the things she charged me with. But there was a feeling that we should not go to HR, because HR will tell others, our information, or it will be known.
Yeah.
And so just being able to do that reset with the organization, and to say, no, what you say in HR stays in HR, is probably my biggest accomplishment, because now sometimes some things that come to HR, I'm like, do you really want to tell me this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it feels good to go from walking in and being distrusted, or not trusted,
Yeah.
because of other things that have happened, but to put the work in and to establish ourselves as being a department that truly is here, and that what it's confidential, what's said in that room or in these rooms stays in this room, and we will help you maneuver through this situation and help to the best of our ability, but we're gonna keep it here, and it's
Yeah.
going to be it's a need to know basis only, and so being able to restore that was a major accomplishment.
Awesome. And then before we get to my favorite one, Chief of Staff, right? I think that one of the things that what we're trying to chat about today, and what we want to convey to our audience, is if you do well and master the position for which you're in, and you strive for greatness and leadership, good things come unto you.
Mhm.
Hard work pays off,
Yes.
right? And I remember popping in your office and just dropping a little seed saying, one day you're going to be my chief of staff. And you're like, what? And then I was like, it'll just be a few months. I'll just keep going. And I just kept going at it. Are you ready? And then we finally got to, the smile looked a little different. The confidence felt, what does this actually mean? What are we actually doing? There was no greater position than being able to put you in as chief of staff. For me, I think having a chief of staff is so vital in a large organization. You really are the air traffic controller, right? The brain power behind what's happening here in the organization, and keeping me informed, and also being counsel, right? And that's not something you go to school or take a class on, right? It is just because of who you are and what you brought forward. And I saw what I hadn't seen, or I didn't know I needed until you arrived at Tampa Family. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. welcome.
Yeah, yes. So, as we get wrapping up our podcast session, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience today? We've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot.
Yeah.
I think that just by way of, I think that we would be remiss if we didn't say to the audience and at least address just a little bit that I love being a leader, right? But I think it would be unfair to not say that there are challenges to being a woman leader, and I think it also ties into the having the ability to just be who we are at work, and also being a woman leader of a certain age. And I think that's probably what I love the most about being your chief of staff, is because I get to have such an audience with you, and I'm so much in your business that I too can feel your energy. And it is different to be able to make certain that as chief of staff, people respect you as CEO, not within the organization, but much more outside of the organization, because it's different. And so no matter how much we don't address it, right, and we want to, I guess, sensationalize that, oh yes, there are boss babe leaders, it is not easy, because you are not oftentimes given the respect that you are due for being the CEO of the largest federally qualified health center in Florida, right? And even if we don't think about that, even for just the managing of this organization that spans right now currently 14 locations across Hillsborough County, with three
Yes.
more, right, coming
Yeah.
up. Just the day to day of what you do for this community and how you manage, right? There, that you had the fortitude to say, hey, we need to do education for these jobs, because we can train people to be medical assistants, to do pharmacy technician, to do medical billing and coding. Oh, and let's not just teach them, let's build a beautiful facility to teach them in, so that not only do they feel good about where they're coming to school, but they're coming and they're learning from knowledgeable instructors, right? And
Right.
so you lead that, which is a separate entity, right? And yet, even with all of that, I will, still get emails where people will not address you with the respect that is deserving of you. And what I feel, because I have been in close positions as executive assistants, and director of operations, national director of operations, and been in boardrooms with male CEOs and board members, and there's a completely different respect that is given, that you oftentimes have to navigate your way through, and that's not easy. And so I think what gives me the greatest amount of joy as chief of staff is being able to be there and to help you tackle that and move through it, and you move through it so gracefully, right? That oftentimes most people don't know that, that your gears are grinding because you've been disrespected, and you don't present as if disrespected. You still present as the leader of Tampa Family, to give the best picture of Tampa Family, but to be able to help you move that forward is what I think I love best about being chief of staff, and just saying that people, we need to do better.
I love that. I love that. You touched on women in leadership, and it was one thing we talked a lot about today, but I can't let you go without talking about it just for a few more minutes. So can we do a few more?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do a few more. I think one of the things when we talk about women in leadership is how many roles, right, we bring forward every single day, and that we have this duty and responsibility, not just to the role that we have here, whether it's moms, wives, sisters, daughters, granddaughters, aunts, nieces, community leaders, friend. We have so much that we give all the time, and really being able to bring up the next generation of healthcare leaders and bring up the next generation of leaders, and showing them that there is a path. I personally have been surrounded by male boardrooms, right? I was usually only a female in there, and you just learn, and you you read the room and you don't acquiesce, but you learn a lot. And I think that one of the things for me when I became CEO was really being able to put the best person in the position, but also putting individuals that I know have a passion to lead and could get us to the next level, and surrounding the room with the energy we have now. And we're a heavy female-led organization, and I couldn't be prouder for that. But I love our men on the team too. They're fantastic,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
know, and it's really bringing them all together. But I think the difference is the respect. Right? Like
Yes.
that's really what you're speaking to, because those other boardrooms that wasn't present. But what we've created here is different, and you can feel it in every move we make when we're out and about. So
Yes.
I really applaud us for the work that we do here in not only having the responsibility for women in leadership, but also for leadership for
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
This has been fantastic.
Well, thank you for having me.
Anything you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
I think we've shared enough.
Okay, we haven't shared up. So with that, we're going to say thank you so much, Ashaki, for joining us today on our Healthcare as It Should Be podcast. And until next time, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on Healthcare as It Should Be, presented by Tampa Family Health Centers. If today's conversation sparked a new perspective, inspired action, or reminded you to prioritize your health, we'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who could benefit from it. We're committed to advancing healthcare that's accessible, innovative, and built around you, because that's healthcare as it should be. Until next time, stay informed, stay well, and stay connected.